Within the polished walls of Quantum Dynamics Boston headquarters, tech mogul Victoria Reeves casts a disdainful glance at a humble janitor's son, daring him to fix her company's groundbreaking quantum processor. Unbeknownst to her, beneath his tattered attire and quiet presence, Ethan Wright was once at the helm of the design team for the cutting-edge technology she now showcases. Driven away from the industry by treachery and shattered by grief, Ethan had completely disappeared from the tech landscape. Now, with his father's livelihood on the line, he confronts his past tormentors, armed only with a screwdriver and the sharp intellect he had long buried. Will you linger in the darkness or emerge to seize your destiny? Ethan Wright glides through the sleek corridors of quantum dynamics, embodying the essence of a shadow. At 26, his tall frame exudes a subtle sophistication, even while clad in a janitor's uniform. His striking, well-defined jawline, straight nose, and captivating blue eyes are frequently obscured as he maintains a downcast gaze. Gliding silently through the corridors, his complexion is pale, and his short, meticulously styled brown hair flecked with grey at the temples lends him an air of maturity beyond his age. His father, the head custodian of the building, had arranged this part-time job for him to help boost his earnings from the small electronics repair shop he operates in a neglected corner of Boston. Ethan's hands bear the marks of a skilled artisan, steady yet adorned with fine scars from years spent navigating the intricacies of delicate circuitry. His replies to the rare greetings he receives are succinct, tinged with an almost apologetic air. His voice, a gentle baritone, seldom ascends beyond a whisper. What the busy workers of quantum dynamics remain unaware of is the modest apartment that Ethan returns to each evening. Walls adorned with intricate diagrams and a workbench strewn with dismantled gadgets that would perplex even the most seasoned engineers. They remain unaware of the way his gaze hovers over the quantum processors being moved through the building, or how he occasionally stops by conference rooms when technical conversations seep through the doors. In these moments, a flicker appears. Behind his guarded expression, recognition, understanding, and perhaps a whisper of longing when he believes no one is observing. His fingers occasionally dance through the air, sketching unseen designs. He can only see the solutions to complex equations. Ethan keeps a folded, weathered photograph in his wallet, capturing a moment from when he was 21. In it, he stands proudly next to his MIT professor and a group of young researchers, all gathered around a prototype that would eventually transform the field of quantum computing. On the reverse side, now scarcely readable, Ethan Wright, Chief Architect, Project Quantum Leap. The photograph bears the marks of wear, creased from countless folds and unfolds, as if he is caught in a quiet struggle with his own thoughts, deliberating on whether to hold on to or let go of that chapter of his existence. Occasionally, in the quiet hours of the night, he retrieves it and gazes at the visage of the young man he once knew so well, brimming with confidence, outstanding, with eyes brimming with potential and intent. As the polished executives glide through the corridors, their gazes bypass him, rendering him an unnoticed fixture of the establishment. Not applicable. What they perceive is merely another laborer in the workforce, a person lacking drive or promise. What remains unseen is his profound grasp of their hushed technical dilemmas, or how his fingers occasionally dance with ideas he will never articulate. They fail to notice how he carefully organizes the cleaning supplies in his cart, aligning them by atomic weight with precision, or how he carefully schedules his rounds through the building to align with the tranquil moments when he can eavesdrop on conversations about the very technology he brought to life. 5 years prior, the name Ethan Wright was spoken of with great respect in the esteemed corridors of MIT and the vibrant tech incubators of Boston. A young genius who released his inaugural paper on quantum architecture at the age of 19, he spearheaded a small team working on a groundbreaking method for stable quantum processing. Their breakthrough held the potential to address the decoherence problem that had troubled quantum computing for decades. The technology promises to render quantum computers viable for tangible applications in medicine, climate science, and encryption, thereby altering the course of human advancement. His exceptional intellect had garnered him the title of the quantum architect among his colleagues, and his future appeared boundless. The venture capital firm Helix Partners extended its initial funding, with the dynamic CEO Victoria Reeves taking a hands-on approach to oversee the investment. She seemed truly captivated by Ethan's vision, bringing him to prestigious events and presenting him as the next big thing in computing. For a young scientist hailing from a working-class background, the affirmation she received was utterly exhilarating. When she proposed relocating development to Helix's private research division to safeguard their intellectual property, Ethan had placed his full trust in her, disregarding the cautions from his father, who had spent years tidying corporate spaces and could spot the wolves in tailored suits. The memories lingered, a shadowy presence from that late night when he had returned to the lab unannounced, only to discover Victoria's team replicating his algorithms and designs. His encounter with her had been approached with icy precision. "Your brilliance shines through, Ethan, yet innocent. Did you honestly believe that someone of your background, the son of a janitor, would ever be permitted to wield such precious technology?" The security personnel guided him away as Victoria observed, her smile unwavering. By morning, the legal documents revealed intricate fine print in his contracts that granted Helix ownership of everything. As Ethan tried to stand his ground, Victoria's legal team wielded the threat of jeopardizing his father's employment and home. Subsequently, the mishaps in the laboratory led to the ruin of his prototypes, the abruptly retracted endorsements from his instructors. Rumors circulated about his volatility, his potential for harm, and the doubt surrounding his reliability. One by one, his former teammates pulled away, hesitant to jeopardize their own careers. His girlfriend, Sarah Hulso, from the research team, was the last to depart, her eyes glistening with tears as she conveyed her heart-wrenching decision to not sacrifice everything for a battle they were destined to lose. The ultimate devastation struck when his mother, already fighting cancer, found her insurance inexplicably denied for an experimental treatment. The pressure from the legal disputes and the burden of financial difficulties hastened her downfall. In her final moments, she extracted a promise from him to care for his father and seek tranquility. Not every conflict justifies the price paid. "Ethan," she whispered softly. 2 weeks following her funeral, Victoria Reeves revealed the establishment of quantum dynamics, founded on Ethan's appropriated research. The vibrant, assured, youthful scientist vanished. Ethan obliterated his research notes, altered his phone number, and completely disengaged from the tech community. He relocated with his sorrowful father to a modest apartment, dedicating himself to the daily task of fixing broken electronics, assisting his father in preserving the very structure where his aspirations had been taken away, and striving to erase the future that had been snatched away from him. The yearly Quantum Dynamics Innovation Showcase turned the company's headquarters into a shining symbol of technological excellence. Corporate clients, investors, and media representatives wandered through demonstration areas where employees showcased the company's latest accomplishments with pride. Victoria Reeves glided through the crowd with an air of majesty. Her vibrant dress and assured walk captivated everyone around. At 45, she retained her strikingly sharp features. With auburn hair styled in a sharp bob, her eyes scrutinized everything, categorizing it as either a benefit or a hindrance. Ethan maneuvered his custodial cart through the dimly lit back hallways, steering clear of the bustling main event. With his father calling in sick, Ethan stepped up to take his shift, determined to keep the income flowing. He was almost done when the emergency alert on his phone chimed, signaling a maintenance request from the main demonstration hall. Severe system malfunction. Top priority. His stomach twisted in apprehension as he understood he would need to step into the showcase, to traverse the realm of those he had long evaded. The highlight of the showcase was intended to be the reveal of Quantum Dynamics' next-generation processor, designed to sustain quantum coherence for extraordinary durations. However, rather than captivating the audience with its features, the processor collapsed dramatically during the demonstration. A group of engineers clustered together, their urgent murmurs escalating in volume as Victoria drew near. Her smile, remained in place, yet the tension was evident at the edges of her eyes. What is the issue at hand? Her voice pierced the whispers, keen as a knife. The chief engineer brushes away the perspiration from his forehead. The coherence matrix is causing instability. The quantum states are collapsing with remarkable speed. We have thoroughly verified the environmental control sites, ensuring there is no external interference. Victoria's smile stayed in place, yet her eyes grew steely. Make the necessary corrections. At this moment, Ms. Reeves, we must delay. This may require several days for a proper diagnosis. Not acceptable. Her gaze swept across the room, catching sight of the maintenance uniform lingering at the edge. Me, custodian. Do something productive and fetch us some coffee. As the true experts focused on their tasks, Ethan averted his gaze and began to walk away. When one of the younger engineers exclaimed, "The calibration matrix is completely corrupted. The core structure seems to possess a critical defect." Victoria's poise faltered. That can't be done. This architecture has undergone thorough validation. Ethan hesitated, aware of the intricate specifics they were delving into. It was his vision, yet they had executed it poorly. He found the answer to be clear and unmistakable. An uncomplicated modification to the phase alignment protocols. A financier made their way to Victoria. Is there an issue with the technology? Miss Reeves, the board has a keen interest in the stability claims associated with this processor. Victoria's laugh was fragile, a slight calibration concern. These intricate systems sometimes require fine-tuning. Her gaze fell upon Ethan once more, and a hint of wickedness danced in her expression. It appears that our maintenance staff has a keen interest in quantum computing. Maybe he would enjoy exploring it further. Her voice resonated in the hushed room. What are your thoughts? Custodian, would you be willing to share your insights on the latest advancements in quantum technology? The audience chuckled softly. A scribe smirked. Perhaps he could strike it with his mop. Victoria moved nearer to Ethan. Let's strike a bargain. If you can resolve our minor issue, I will personally issue you a check for $50,000. Her smile cut through the air like a blade. However, should you harm our multi-million-dollar prototype, you and your father will be financially responsible for it for the entirety of your lives. The lead engineer voiced his objections, Ms. Reeves. This is utterly absurd. He had the power to obliterate months of effort. I doubt our companion will even consider it, Victoria responded. He understands his role. Do you not? She whispered, ensuring that only Ethan could catch her words, remaining concealed in the darkness. Ethan? Are you still allowing others to claim what rightfully belongs to you? A circle had formed around them, with the crowd gathered closely, recording on phones, reactions that spanned from laughter to a cringe-worthy discomfort. The board members observed with a sense of aloof curiosity. Like spectators at a peculiar social experiment, the junior employees stifled their laughter behind their hands. I have often pondered the fate of the remarkable Ethan Wright. Victoria pressed on. Her voice rose, drawing the attention of those nearby. The shining star of might, reduced to wielding a mop. How fitting that you tend to the flaws in the building where those more accomplished than you achieved what you could not. A sudden spark of understanding flickered across the chief engineer's face. Is it correct? Is this the same Wright who released that theoretical paper on stable quantum architectures some years back? Victoria gestured with a flick of her hand, brushing it aside. An initial idea that needed considerable polishing by true experts. It was evident that he was not capable of finishing the task on his own. She pointed towards the janitor's uniform. The facts are clear and undeniable. The murmurs circulated among the gathering. A former professor of Ethan's, now a consultant for quantum dynamics, advanced with a piercing gaze. It is indeed you. Heard you experienced a bit of a collapse. Completely abandoned the realm of science. Heartbreaking, is that so? Victoria remarked, her gaze drifting to her perfectly polished nails. However, that's the outcome when individuals aspire to exceed their circumstances. They struggle to cope with the demands of true innovation. She faced the audience. What will it be then, sir? Is it correct? Reveal to us the true face of squandered opportunity, or return to your cleaning duties where you fit best. Ethan remained, motionless, feeling the heavy burden of countless gazes bearing down on him. His fingers quivered ever so slightly at his sides, and perspiration gathered on his brow. The well-known grip of panic tightened around his chest, a haunting echo of the profound helplessness he had experienced when everything fell apart years before. The processor rested on the display table, its quantum core flickering with erratic energy patterns that only he could discern as inherently flawed. His gaze flicked to the exit, weighing the fastest route to break free from the stifling burden of anticipation and ridicule. He retreated a single step. Next, another one. The crowd's expressions transformed from derision to a collective acknowledgement of their preconceived notion that he was insignificant, an imposter who had justly been pushed to the sidelines. Victoria's smile grew just a bit more, triumph already twinkling in her gaze. A board member expressed his disapproval with a slow shake of his head. As a young intern chuckled openly, a voice nearby whispered just loud enough for him to catch the words. It seems the janitor has a deeper understanding of plumbing than of modern gadgets. The flush of embarrassment spread across his cheeks. And the ancient scar of treachery was once again laid bare. With fresh pain coursing through his chest, Ethan pivoted toward the exit. The sound of his father's voice resonated within him. At times, the wisest choice is to step back from a game that's stacked against you. He was almost at the door when he felt his phone buzz in his pocket. A message from his father. Currently, at the hospital. Pause at the chest once more. There's no need for concern. Simply a matter of caution. Wrap up your shift. Child. The letters danced before Ethan's eyes, swirling in a haze. His father, the individual who had remained by his side through it all, who had never once doubted his value, even when society labeled him a disappointment, found myself isolated in a hospital room as Ethan shrank back in fear from the wolves. His hand moved reflexively toward his wallet. Digits, discovering the faded photograph, he continued to hold close. He reflected on the last moments of his mother's life. The way the pressure and sorrow had hastened her downfall. He reflected on his father, continuing to engage in work well beyond the traditional retirement age, scrubbing the floors in the place where his son's legacy had been taken away. The overwhelming burden of countless setbacks loomed, poised to bring him to the brink of surrender. At that instant, it felt as though surrendering was not only the simpler choice but also unavoidable, a conclusive recognition of a conflict surrendered ages past. As he lingered at the entrance, yet another recollection unearthed the echoes of his mother's voice from long ago. Before sickness and hopelessness had taken hold of her. Your intellect is a treasure, Ethan. Failing to utilize it would be the true setback. She had trusted him completely, had given up. To support his education, stood firm in the face of skepticism, championing his aspirations. The recollection of her unwavering pride when he received his MIT acceptance letter pierced through the haze of disappointment. She would prefer that he stay put. She would desire for him to embrace his authenticity, no matter the result. Ethan's fingers curled tightly around the photograph, folding it deeper. It inhaled deeply. Air filled his lungs, sharpening his mind. The anxiety faded away, replaced by an unusual tranquility, not quite assurance to be precise, however. Determination. The way ahead appeared unmistakably bright, shining not with the promise of triumph, yet through the quiet strength of choosing not to engage in his own disappearance any further. He strolled back toward the processor, gaze now sharpened, shoulders align with every stride. The crowd split in astonishment, dialogue stalling, in the midst of a thought, silently. He took off his custodial jacket and rolled his sleeves up. Exposed forearms etched with the subtle scars of countless hours spent working with intricate circuitry. "I'll require some instruments," he spoke softly. For the first time that day, his voice held a steady tone. The atmosphere in the demonstration hall was thick with anticipation as Ethan made his way toward the quantum processor. The chief engineer hesitantly passed along a diagnostic tablet and toolkit, his demeanor a blend of doubt and a keen interest in the craft. Victoria stood with her arms crossed, a picture of defiance. Her contented smirk hinted that she was simply extending the amusement before the unavoidable disgrace. It might be beneficial to document this for future reference. She addressed the audience, avoiding the pitfalls of quantum engineering. A wave of nervous laughter swept across the audience. Ethan turned a blind eye to everyone around him as his fingers made contact with the processor housing. A delicate transformation swept through him. His movements flowed effortlessly, assured, the reluctant custodian disappearing, as the familiar motions returned effortlessly. With a deft touch, he navigated the system diagnostics, his fingers dancing over the keys with familiarity, eyes swiftly darting across the flowing information that left even the most experienced engineers perplexed. The issue of coherence does not lie within the hardware, he whispered softly, deeper within than what the spectators perceive. There exists a core discrepancy in the protocols for phase calibration. His fingers danced swiftly over the interface, exploring the intricate layers of subsystems hidden within the architectural framework. Only the original creator would be aware of its existence. The lead engineer moved in closer. That can't be done. Those are secondary systems. Such a cascade failure of this magnitude was beyond their capabilities. Ethan remained silent in his reply. Instead, he accessed the fundamental algorithm. The algorithm he developed. While now altered and emphasizing an important part, the entanglement mapping has been reversed. You are aiming to achieve stability in quantum states by coordinating their collapse instead of stopping it altogether. It's refined, yet entirely reversed. The engineer's face lit up with understanding. This suggests that the whole theoretical framework relies on a misunderstanding of the foundational design principles. Ethan completed his task in silence for 20 minutes. He continued his work in silence, his concentration unwavering. The audience's jeers slowly faded into a tense quiet as they observed the change unfold. Even individuals lacking technical knowledge could perceive the distinction. This was not an individual struggling with technology that was beyond their understanding. This was a skilled artisan brought back together with his masterpiece. Victoria's assurance started to falter. She moved in closer. Her voice was soft yet menacing. Whichever game you choose to engage in, indeed, nothing will be different. The processor belongs to the company, crafted by our talented team of engineers. Ethan kept his gaze fixed downward. The design was implemented in reverse order by your engineers. The quantum states are collapsing due to a feedback loop that is self-reinforcing instead of self-correcting. He executed a last refinement, subsequently commenced the restart sequence. The core structure is solid. It was consistently reliable. The processor sprang to life with a soft hum. The holographic display above it steadied itself, demonstrating a consistent increase in quantum coherence levels beyond the former standard. Next, we multiply it by 2, then multiplying by 3. Figures that had appeared utterly unattainable just moments ago now stood as reliable, confirmed interpretations. The lead engineer gazed at the screen, utterly astonished. This doesn't seem correct. These coherence times suggest that quantum computing has now reached a level of practicality for real-world applications. Ethan completed his task. That was always the intention. A faint ripple of applause emerged from the technical observers who grasped the importance of the moment unfolding before them. A few board members shared significant looks. A journalist who had been broadcasting the entertaining scene now urgently contacted her editor. Victoria's complexion had faded completely. A fortunate assumption. Anyone might have... Definitely. Not a guess, Ethan interjected, his voice growing more assertive. I crafted the initial design of the architecture, Initiative Quantum Leap, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, half a decade past. He retrieved the faded photograph from his wallet and set it down next to the processor. Before you seized it and constructed it incorrectly, the murmurs blossomed into a full-fledged dialogue. The consultant who had identified Ethan earlier was now scrutinizing the display readings with astonished eyes. These results are unlike anything we've seen before. This revolutionizes our understanding of practical quantum implementation. Victoria began to articulate her thoughts. Yet Ethan pressed on. His voice, steady and resonant in the hushed hall, revealed that the processor was failing as it struggled against its own design. The implementation wasn't intended to function in that manner. For the first time, his gaze met Victoria's directly. Certain elements remain untouchable, their true nature unaltered, despite attempts to appropriate or misrepresent them. The design necessitates a harmonious balance between contrasting elements rather than the supremacy of one over the other. You attempted to confine it within a structure that fundamentally misinterpreted its essence. He withdrew from the processor, which persisted in operating at levels that had the technical team hurriedly jotting down notes and recording data. Your payment won't be required. Dear Miss Reeves, I hereby submit my resignation from the maintenance staff. He faced the astonished audience. If anyone requires precise implementation of their quantum architecture, feel free to reach out. As Ethan made his way to the exit, the stillness that lingered behind him was striking, the hush of re-evaluation, of a story abruptly and strikingly transformed. No one made an effort to intervene. A year has passed, and Ethan finds himself at the threshold of an unassuming structure in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The sign above the door reads, Craft Quantum Solutions. Within the space, a group of spirited young engineers huddles around their workstations, their excitement evident. Beyond the transparent barriers of a conference room, Ethan's father stands confidently, guiding potential investors on an engaging tour. His health blossomed, and his pride radiated through every movement as he gestured toward the framed photo of his son on the walnut, the moment captured from the MIT graduation. Just a straightforward image of Ethan in his janitor's uniform, captured the day before. Everything shifted. The previous year has witnessed a change that many would not have anticipated. A viral video featuring a janitor transforming quantum computing has sparked inquiries into claims regarding intellectual property in quantum dynamics. As the legal disputes unfold, several tech companies have reached out to Ethan, eager to bring his original vision to life in the right way. With complete ownership and recognition, he opted to begin modestly, crafting something that embodied not only his technical vision, but also his principles, a venture where innovation and integrity coexisted harmoniously. Victoria Reeves was compelled to resign from her position as CEO due to shareholder backlash and ongoing legal challenges. The last time Ethan laid eyes on her was from the other side of a courtroom, her vibrant crimson power suit now swapped for a subdued grey, her commanding gaze unable to connect with his. He chose not to seek personal retribution against her, instead concentrating on regaining his work and reconstructing his future. The truth was a triumph in itself. As Ethan gets ready to step into his company, a young woman approaches a student involved in a local high school's science program. Mr. Wright, I came across the details of your experience, how they attempted to remove you from the very work you brought to life. She pauses, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. I come from a lineage of caretakers as well. Many believe that individuals like us have no place in the tech industry. Ethan examines her face with an insatiable curiosity, reflecting the same uncertainty instilled by a society eager to assess value based on origins. Your worth is not defined by your position or history. Recall that even when the world attempts to convince you otherwise, how did you persist when others perceived you as insignificant? Ethan smiles as he recalls the photograph he still keeps in his wallet, now accompanied by a new one of his father, standing proudly in the Wright Quantum Solutions lobby. I recalled my true self in moments of solitude, surrounded by those who held on to my essence, even when I wavered in my memory. With a newfound resolve in her stride, she departs, while Ethan casts a glance back at the structure that embodies his restored heritage. He no longer experiences the vengeful satisfaction he once envisioned. Instead, there exists a subtle, yet deeply significant alignment of a life that has finally found coherence with its true purpose. Genuine dignity is not defined by acts of vengeance, but by the strength to endure. In a realm where hasty assessments and superficial looks prevail, how many exceptional intellects lie concealed before us, and what could we accomplish if we genuinely learn to recognize their worth?